Hello, everyone. We're doing green criminology, and our group members are Natalia Barnoy, Emma Biro, Morgan Clintaire, and Alexis Leach. Green criminology is the study of environmental harm and crimes, which include state, corporate, and individual actions and/or behaviors that harm the environment, people, and animals. Green criminology has gained popularity in recent years. It has also helped to change what counts as a crime. It helps address and include ecological damage done by humans. This branch of criminology specializes in harm to the environment, animals, and humans from issues like poaching, climate change, pollution, corporate environmental violations, deforestation, and much more. Some key perspectives are eco-justice, which is ecological, environmental, and species justice, state corporate crime. This is the examination of how government and corporations facilitate harm to the environment through relaxed policies, involvement, and regulations. Lastly, green imperialism, which is when the global north imposes their green agendas on the global south.
We chose green criminology for our topic and related it to green imperialism. Because green criminology is more nuanced, it helps to look at it through the lens of green imperialism. So now we ask, what exactly is this? Green imperialism is essentially countries in the global north using environmental protection policies to control countries in the global south. This worsens the environment. They go to countries with less strict environmental laws, strip their land, poison their water, and starve their people. The global north then creates a humanitarian crisis, which is a green crime. Now, another question: how is this a sustainable communities challenge? Green imperialism involves imposing the global north's green agendas onto the global south, which is greenwashing, leading to extraction, displacement, and inequity. This occurs through the mining of resources for green technologies, the imposition of conservation projects that marginalized local communities, and export of the environmental burden on decarbonization. To go more in depth, here are some examples. Resource extraction. It relies on extracting critical raw materials like lithium and cobalt from countries in the global south to power green transitions in the global north. This process causes environmental damage and social upheaval in the extraction regions. It perpetuates inequality. By shifting the burden of a green transition onto vulnerable communities and perpetuating existing power imbalances, it creates new forms of dependency and exacerbates global inequities. It causes cultural erosion. The imposition of external sustainability models can disregard local knowledge, traditions, and social structures, leading to cultural disintegration and undermining the very communities that are supposed to be protected. It undermines true sustainability. It prioritizes the environmental goals of powerful nations over the socioeconomic rights and needs of local communities, undermining the holistic and equitable approach required for true sustainability. It creates decarbonization by dispossession. It demonstrates how a focus on decarbonization can be achieved through the dispossession of marginalized peoples, shifting the cost of climate action onto those least responsible for the problem. When learning about externalities, green imperialism is a perfect way to explain it. The businesses/countries causing this environmental and humanitarian crises should be required to pay for the damage caused, disrupting the feedback loop. The decisions of the global north directly impact the global south negatively, despite them having no part in the process. The global north prioritizing profit and growth leads to an increase in demand, depletion of natural resources, and pollution. This then contributes to the poverty crisis, making sustainable living harder in those areas, creating a positive but bad feedback loop.
Going off of the historical example, this is usually prioritized Western environmental values while ignoring local rights and livelihoods, reflecting green imperialism, the imposition of environmental policies that serve colonial or neocolonial interests. The displacement of indigenous communities and prioritization of Western conservation values set a pattern of environmental policies that often ignore or marginalize local voices and rights. As we learn about this history, we see how environmental protection efforts have sometimes been rooted in power imbalances and colonial legacies, which many contemporary conservation efforts are now seeking to address by incorporating indigenous perspectives and promoting more equitable methods. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has been taken advantage of since the late 1800s, when King Leopold II of Belgium came to the Congo to take its rubber. He forced labor on the Congolese people and committed a genocide that took millions of lives. I included a graphic of Leopold divvying up the Congo. This eventually led to one of the first human rights movements of the 20th century, but it didn't stop there. Now, the Congo is plagued with another crisis, one caused by Tesla and Apple, who are currently being sued for greenwashing. In their search for environmentally friendly tech, They found cobalt, and the Congo is filled with it. They are forcing labor, polluting the water and soil, and essentially killing the Congolese people again. Child labor has been rampant with children being brought and sold into the slave trade. I have attached some images of the crisis, but I do have to give a trigger warning. On the data and evidence page, you will see some photos shown. Each level shown in circles provides examples of environmental legislation. According to the UN, the majority of environmental legislation is enacted at the national and subnational levels, with few international treaties.
Now that you have the foundational ideas and concepts of green imperialism and green criminology, I want to discuss with you the solutions and impacts that both green criminology and sustainable developers propose. To address the issues of green imperialism, a more inclusive strategy and approach must first take hold. Corporations and companies looking to develop in countries must integrate local and indigenous knowledge of the land and its materials to make more sustainable choices that benefit communities, nations, and the earth. They must also invest in social capital by ensuring meaningful community participation to earn trust and gain knowledge. Additionally, measures need to be taken to protect the rights of individuals affected by green development projects. Equitable solutions can also include shifting the focus towards creating just and anti-imperialist solutions that do not rely on extractive practices or the dispossession of vulnerable communities. Solutions in the form of policy and reform can also be implemented to reverse power imbalances, legal impunity, and the flow of money from south to north. These solutions could lead to radical change in the economic development, environmental and climate concerns, and social and human rights. The impacts of these solutions would do more than just change the way the companies extract the resources, but dismantle Western imperialism and make historical polluters pay. Hence, the planet and the global south both get justice and a real chance to thrive. To conclude, green imperialism imposes northern solutions on the global south through deliberate land grabs, turning into unequal treaties, toxic extraction, displacement, and ecocide into funded, legal, and celebrated climate actions. At the same time, green criminology documents these actions. It works to report them as systematic environmental crimes that enjoy total impunity because the perpetrators themselves make the rules. Therefore, green imperialism and green criminology are two sides of the same coin. While imperialism supplies the power and money to make crimes lawful, green criminology works to expose the violence and fraud that is hidden beneath sustainable branding.